want to go back to the budget issues for a second, because
Sure.
for the 2018 budget, you guys were $500 billion overspending. 19 budget, same thing. You're looking at $500 billion overspending. When does the debt become a priority? I recognize your priority right now is growth. With this plan, you got to generate growth to try to pay for this plan. But when does the $20 trillion in debt become a problem, and where do you start cutting spending when, in fact, it becomes the priority?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm not clear about that. The debt is a priority right now. That's why the tax policies are important right now. We need that growth to help reduce the size of the deficit long term. Keep in mind, the deficit is really a two-variable equation. It's revenues minus expenses. When your expenses are greater than revenues, you have a deficit, right? There's only two pieces of the puzzle. We do need spending restraint. We do need spending reduction if we can get it. Very difficult to get it in Washington, D.C. these days. But we need restraint, and that's going to be reflected in our budget this year. And then we need more revenue. So, no, this tax policy is a discussion about the debt and the deficit.
Yeah.
It's important right now.
Well, I know that, but you're still looking at $500 billion in overspending on the budget. And you know, you're talking about a $47 trillion budget with not a lot of spending cuts. So you say it's a priority, but it doesn't look like it is.
Well, nobody said no. I sent our budget sent $54 billion worth of spending cuts this year to the Hill
On a $47 trillion budget.
It is, but look how much actually survived. I think only 4 or 5 survived the House. 0 will probably survive the Senate. So look, no, we recognize the fact there's a spending problem in Washington, D.C., and we're pushing back as hard as we possibly can, having some difficulty getting that done on the Hill. At the same time, however, we're also looking at the revenue side of the equation. It just makes sense. That's the right way to do it.
Look, I understand the issues that you're up against. I want to zero in on one area, and that is the military. We're talking every day about accidents with the Navy, about the lack of readiness in our Navy. I recognize that because of the sequester, the military spending has been just decimated. You've got budget caps in place. You've got to remove those budget caps in order to put more money to military. The president just yesterday deemed North Korea a terrorist sponsor. And here we are looking at the threats getting bigger every day. North Korea, Iran, even Saudi Arabia and Israel are agreeing that the common enemy is Iran. And yet you've got a military that has gotten decimated. Are you going to increase those budget caps? Are you going to remove those budget caps?
A couple of different. I don't know if decimated is the right word. Certainly, sequester has had a material impact on the defense. We're still spending, I think, $600 billion on defending the nation overseas right now. That's in addition to the money we spend defending the nation of the homeland and homeland security. So we spend a good bit of money defending the nation. But you're absolutely right. We are continuing to look at ways to get the military more money to meet some of the needs that have been created by those sequester cuts. And yes, we are in discussions right now with the Hill on how to try and figure out a way to raise those caps so that we can drive one of this administration's top priorities, which is spending more money on national defense. That means more money at the Defense Department, the Pentagon, more money on Homeland Security, more money for the wall. That's still our priorities. They will remain our priorities, and those discussions are ongoing.
General Jack Keane said that right now, as we sit here and speak, Mick, that the budget does not take into account the fact that 50% of our planes in the Navy are not ready. They're not flyable.
And we're hoping to be able to help solve that problem. Again, we are working with the Hill to try and raise the budget cap. So I appreciate the general's situation. We recognize the deficiencies that we have right now. We're trying to address that. The administration has talked about greater defense spending since we got here. We proposed $54 billion, which would have undone the sequester in our very first budget last year. You'll continue to see that again in our budget this year.
Real quick on infrastructure, is that the next push, or is it welfare after tax reform gets done?
Yeah, well, from my perspective, I sort of hope we can do both, because we're looking at infrastructure as a way to sort of promote growth and welfare reform as a way to sort of reduce spending. Again, go back to that two-variable equation on the deficits. I'm hopeful that we can do both. I think right now, though, all attention is on taxes, as it should be.
Dr. Mulvaney, it's good to see you, sir.
Thanks, Maria. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Have a happy Thanksgiving to you. Mick Mulvaney joining us at the White House. Thanks for coming out today.